but it's actually also a little fun because my father's name is actually Vasudhaiva.
Yeah.
So, but that's not what I thought of. I just thought that the world as family encapsulates everything that I'm trying to say, not only in this film but in so many of my films. At that moment she was a bit irritated because she was not only irritated with me with the camera, but she was irritated with life because she was such an active person throughout her life, and to be bedridden or to be, she had cancer, so they throughout my life allowed me to do everything and anything.
Camaraderie that they had between them, and like independent of anyone else, children, this, that, just the ease with which they teased each other, and
well, as you saw, they fought also. Yeah, so
and the respect they had for each other's work, and that comes through very beautifully.
Because why do we even listen to other stories of other people or get interested in human rights violations that happen all over the world? Because actually we are connected. I mean, what's happening in Palestine is important to us, should be important to us, like, because we are human beings. It was something that I dreaded. In fact, I was making a film, to keep them alive for myself. And the fact that I was filming when it happened actually made it easier for me. My mother was Sindhi, my father was Marathi. They didn't speak the same. My father spoke Sindhi, but my mother didn't really speak Marathi. And at home we spoke English. The risks that I face as a filmmaker is minimal compared to what so many Indians face all the time. I mean, if you're an activist who's a Muslim or a Dalit or working class, the kind of terror that you have to deal with in everyday life is much greater than anything that I face.
Filming, you're of course involved with the technicality of the camera, right? Up until their last moments. But then you start to edit the film after they pass away. Now, was there a period when you didn't want to look at the footage at all and you just were going through that grieving? Also, one more question is that how does your relationship to the images keep changing as you keep watching the film? Because it's also reminiscent of the loss of your parents, no?
For many years I didn't look at the footage. I shot it. My mother died in 2008. My father died in 2010. That's already 14 years ago. And I didn't really start editing till probably during the pandemic, because I wasn't allowed. I was making other films. I made a film called War and Peace. I made a film called Jaivin Comrade, which took 14 years to make. I made Reason, which took 4 years to make. So I made very long other films. They were the main work that I was doing. This home movie footage was just lying there, not being looked at occasionally. It was also, once I decided to make it a film that the public could see, I couldn't be sure that, what is interesting to me, because everything is interesting to me, my own family. So, but it was dangerous because you can bore the hell out of your audience showing home movies. In reality, we are part of this caste-divided society, and we have to come to grips with it. And we can't say this is out of bounds and that is out of bounds and this is my story and this is your story. It will become very fragmented if we create a world in which everybody tells their own little story and nobody, if you're gay, you'll talk only about gay people. If you're, so all of that will become totally fragmented. So I think it's good that people make films about their own situation, but also good that you look at the world with a wider lens. Whether it's Prithvi Theatre or so, places where people can gather and actually watch the same. People don't even watch the same movie together anymore, right? Don't even go to the theatre. Very little people. You see it on your computer. You see it at home on TV, and so we have forgotten how to speak to people in any. We just don't meet people. We don't exchange ideas. We meet only our own very narrow circles, and that's it. That's what keeps happening. Art probably gets determined hundreds of years later. Things that survive through time, that cut across geography, and people can relate to it. Maybe you start calling something art because it has survived in history and geography. Otherwise, we're dealing with real life, and we're trying to make sense of the world.
Because I also deal with situations which I might only live with this once, and I don't know if I really will be able to share this even with another person. But you chose to keep that as an archival, and I'm sure it was for your family, and you chose to edit it much later. But was there any sort of guilt or resentment or anything?
As I said, my parents were not. They didn't think I was making a movie. I didn't think I was making a movie. We were just having fun. And we shared. Whenever I shot something like you do with home movies, you see it right away. So they also saw it, whatever that we filmed of them.